Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day as we continue through summer, we continue through July, and we continue into the 14th week of Ordinary Time. Help us to do your work, help us to do your will, and help us to love you as you call us to love you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today, of course, is Monday of the 4th week of Ordinary Time, and the readings are continuing us along in Genesis. And of course, Genesis is continuing the story of not only the creation, what it's most known for, but the beginning of the Hebrew people, beginning of the chosen race, which of course is the Jews. And so where we are now is our reading today focuses on Jacob. Now let's have a little understanding who Jacob is. And this is a program that happens from Monday through Friday. This is our afternoon show, so that leaves out Saturday and Sunday. And therefore, when we follow the reading for each particular day, we miss the reading on Saturday. Jacob is one of the two sons of Isaac, and Jacob is the younger son. And Jacob, kind of interesting, Isaac's wife was Rebekah. We heard that on Friday. And Rebekah loved one of her sons, and the other one she didn't. And that was, the older son was Esau, and the younger son was Jacob. And she didn't want to see Esau become the heir of the role of Isaac. So Isaac was going blind, and so Esau was supposed to get the blessing from Isaac. And what happens is Rebekah plays this little stunt, makes Jacob sound like Isaac, and Jacob sound like Esau, fools Isaac into believing Jacob is Esau, and Jacob gets the blessing from Isaac. So now Jacob becomes the next in line, and in doing so, Esau loses his chance to be the next patriarch of the Jewish people. So we see all that, and that's the scene on Saturday, which we didn't talk about. So now it's Monday, and Jacob is now continuing his role. And so he's continuing his role as the grandson of Isaac and going to be a patriarch of the Hebrew people, who we later call the Jewish people. So here we have that whole scenario set up. We also have to see the importance of Jacob, because who is Jacob but remember what the Lord said to Moses, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Jacob is we see him now as the grandson of Abraham, the son of Isaac, just starting out, but we understand that he is Jacob, who ultimately becomes one of the patriarchs. We also understand that when we're talking about Jacob, we're talking about someone who's so prominent that we realize that Jacob is prominent in everything that happens with the Hebrews after this. And what is it that Jesus is doing when he meets the Samaritan woman? Where is he sitting? He's sitting at Jacob's well. So you can see Jacob plays a major part. But we're kind of looking at the early days of Jacob, and this is a famous scene we see in today's reading, which you can find from your favorite your favorite what the heck is it called? Bible, your favorite book of readings, bible.usccb.org Daily Missal. I knew I'd get that word down. Your favorite daily missal, bible.usccb.org. The Word Among Us, Magnificat, whatever the case may be, it's there, and you can read this reading. It's Genesis chapter 28, 10 through 22a. So we see the story, and this is the part where Jacob, in a dream, sees God's angels going up and down a ladder to the heavens. And that just becomes the name. It has nothing to do with it of what is known as Jacob's Ladder. And Jacob's Ladder is one of those rope ladders you see on the sides of ships. But anyway, here we have this famous scene, and it's here that Jacob recognizes that God's presence was there. Now, one of the things that pops into my mind with that is something that when I was a hermit, speaking of that, I'm going to talk about something to deal with that on the other side of the break. But when I was a hermit out in Crestone, California, Crestone, Colorado, remember, I was only there, it wasn't that I was there living my whole life as a hermit. I was there couple of weeks at a time. But we were in a place called Peace Valley. I don't know the actual name, but the Native American name was Peace Valley. And anytime there was trouble, that they would run to Peace Valley and they would settle their problems there because it was this special place. Well, I kind of get that image when I see this scene today from today's reading. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Don't forget to tell others where they can find our program. You can hear us on WEZE 590 AM and WEZEradio.com at midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, Eastern Time. We then podcast the program on your favorite podcast platform and at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also hear us on our parish website, ST for StAnthonyAlston.org. That's StAnthonyAlston.org. And let others know where they can find us and spread the word and subscribe to our podcast. And don't forget our own website and our own parish, where you have a standing invitation to our 10 o'clock a.m. Mass every single Sunday. That is at StAnthonyAlston.org. We're at 43 Holton Street in Allston, Massachusetts. And you will know us because we are not too far from the Charles River, and we're not too far from the other side of the Charles River, which is the Cambridge side of the Charles River, where Harvard University is. That's where we are. So anyway, we're not at Harvard University. We're about a mile down the road in Allston, Massachusetts. Take a left. If you're coming from the Turnpike and you're going down Franklin Street, take a left at Rockland Trust. And there you go. And then take a right at this little triangular intersection. That's Holton Street there. So anyway, we're talking about this scene. Now, I told you about living as a hermit, and I lived in a place called Crestone, Colorado. Well, two of the people who helped form that hermitage, they left the hermitage, but they helped form it, have their own podcast. And their names are Tessa Bilecki and Father Dave Denny. So here's the thing to check out. It's called Fire and Light. You can find it on various podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Google. So check that out. Fire and Light. They lived for years as hermits in the desert, in the high deserts of Colorado. And I've told you that before, just down the street from the Sand Dunes National Monument, which is where they have filmed films like Dune, for obvious reasons, because these huge sand dunes in the middle of the desert. However, they now call themselves urban hermits, and they live in Tucson, Arizona. But they're fascinating to listen to, and definitely check out that podcast. So anyway, so what we're saying is now this becomes a powerful spot for Jacob. And this is a sign where he says, I can feel the Lord's presence here. And I related that to the experience of being a hermit in Crestone, Colorado. So, and this is where he knows God's presence is. Now, later, we will see another interaction between him and God. And in doing so, we see this founding of this the Jewish people. They're still on the land that was given to Abraham. That all comes in the next generation. But right now, they're still on the land where Jacob... that was given to Abraham, and where Isaac was, and now Jacob. And Jacob, again, his coming to understand who he is and who this God is. And he says to the Lord, and again, never, a lot of people, I don't know whether it's an American thing or whatever, a lot of people are afraid of what they say to the Lord. Speak to the Lord, as St. Alphonsus Liguori says, speak to the Lord as you would a good friend. Don't be afraid if you feel upset with the Lord to say that. Don't be afraid if you feel tenuous with the Lord to say that. Don't be afraid of any of that. And so in that light, we see Jacob basically making a bargain. If I come back here and I have survived my journey, and if God's with me and protects me and everything else, then I will return here. The Lord will be my God. And he says, I will return a tenth part to the Lord. So keep that in mind. That's how he responds. And, anytime you see that kind of response in the Bible, it says right then and there, then don't be afraid to respond in the same way. And so that's an important context. This is, I need you to show me, Lord, that you are with me. And there's nothing wrong with praying, anything like that. So keep that in mind. This all happens in a place called Bethel, which still exists today. It's over on the West Bank, and it is the ancient city or the ancient area of Palestine. So that's Bethel, and that's where this whole scene takes place. We'll talk more tomorrow. Have a blessed day. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.